We will now introduce Lesson 4, having to do with accents, the metheg, the makef, the kamatz hatuf, and the like. First of all, about accents. Every Hebrew word has a primary accent unless it's joined to another word, and many have secondary accents. And there are all kinds of different shapes that the accents take in the Hebrew Bible. We will mention them little by little as we look at biblical texts, rather than trying to introduce them all at once. But for our purposes, the accent, first of all, an observation. Most of the time, the accent will occur on the last syllable of a word in Hebrew. So, for example, the word for word, davar, well, the accent is on the last syllable, bar, but when it's on the last syllable, there's no need to show that. Whereas if you have a word like earth or land, eretz, well, that is on the next to the last syllable, and therefore it is marked by the symbol that you see, the little less than sign type symbol over the aleph here. That's an indication that the accent is receded. Now, accents will fall either on the last syllable or the next to the last syllable, but it will not fall on any other syllables normally, unless it's some sort of loan word, and therefore there's only accents only have to be shown on the next to the last syllable, which is a little less common than when it's on the last syllable. Another name for the accented syllable is the tone syllable or the tonic syllable. And the syllable preceding the accent is called pretonic, or the near syllable. And then the syllable preceding the pretonic syllable is called the propretonic syllable. So in a word like eretz, well, there is no pretonic syllable, and there is no propretonic syllable. But if you have the word, the plural for the word word, the plural for the word word, davar is the word for word, devarim is the fully written plural of davar. Well, the tonic syllable is reem, the pretonic syllable is va, and then the propretonic syllable is de, devarim. And so there's three syllables, the tonic, the pretonic, and the propretonic syllable. And there you can see a transliteration of that. Now, vowel changes may occur when the accent moves forward. So if the accent, well, in this case you started off with a kamatz under the dalet, the accent moved forward because you added a plural ending, and this syllable became propretonic, and there's a rule that propretonic kamatz reduces to shava, and that's what's happened here. And so it's good to know the tonic, the pretonic, and propretonic syllables because of some of those rules. Accents serve several purposes in the Hebrew Bible. They mark the tonic or the stressed syllable of a word so that you pronounce it correctly. Accents mark traditional sentence punctuation. In the Hebrew Bible, some accents are called disjunctive. That means there'd be some sort of punctuation, a period, a comma, colon or semicolon. Others are conjunctive accents. They link things together. And that's the way the Masoretes, who put together the Hebrew Bible, punctuated the Hebrew Bible, was by either putting conjunctive accents or disjunctive accents. And then accents in the poetical books give direction for cantillation, that is liturgical chanting, of the Hebrew Bible in synagogue. And the accents can distinguish grammatically similar forms. So anyway, that's a word about accents. Let me move on to a symbol that shows up on certain words called the metheg. The metheg is a little short vertical stroke besides a vowel or under a syllable to prevent the vowel from being hurried. And so the word metheg actually means bridle in Hebrew. And so it kind of puts a bridle on the form. The example that he gives you here is ha-adam. And you might be tempted to not give that kamatz there its full value. And in order not to do that, it just tells you to slow down a little bit. Ha-adam. Give it its full value rather than ha-adam, where you're actually killing vowels and producing a hataf patah under the aleph if you were to pronounce it that way. So anyway, the metheg will do that. In certain cases, especially with kamatz, it can be used to distinguish between a kamatz hatuf and a regular kamatz, the o-vowel kamatz and the regular kamatz. So if you put it under a kamatz, that's a way of saying pronounce that as an a vowel rather than as a o vowel. This can actually make a difference in your word meaning, as it turns out. So notice this form here with the het, with a kamatz underneath, with the metheg beside it, and then a kaf with a shavah, and then a mem with a kamatz and a final hey, which is actually not pronounced. This form is identical except it lacks the metheg. Well, this form must be pronounced hakama, and it turns out that that is a verbal form meaning she is wise. But this form without the metheg would probably be pronounced hokma, closed syllable, short vowel, short o, the kamatz hatuf, in which case the meaning would be wisdom. So pronounce it with the metheg, hakama, then it's she is wise, but then without the metheg it's probably hokma, wisdom. And so there the metheg helps you to distinguish which kind of kamatz that you actually have here. Another example highlighted in blue here is identical same consonants, identically same vowels, but one with the metheg and one without. Here the one with the metheg should be pronounced yira'u by putting a bridle, the metheg, on the hirik here. That's a way of saying that that should be interpreted as a vocal shavah. So it's yira'u. That happens to mean they will be afraid. But then the form without the metheg should be pronounced yir'u, which means they will see. The form with the metheg, you could actually write a yod in there and have a hirik yod vowel letter. That would be the plain A spelling of it. But in this case, it's spelled defectively, and they put the metheg in to tell you, oh, don't confuse that with the root ra'ah, meaning to see. That's actually from yareh, which means to be afraid. And the metheg will also come under consonants with vowels preceding compound shavahs. So here you have the word for priest, which is kohanim, and there you get a metheg thrown in there. And that methag simply assures that the patah receives its full value, even though it's 2 syllables away from the accent. Now, it turns out that the methag is identical in form with one of the accents. The accent that is on the very last word in a verse is also a little line like that. It's called a siluk. Marks the tone syllable, the last word of a verse, always followed by 2 little dots to sof pasuk. But the methag never appears under an accented syllables. So if there's 2 accents on a word, then then you know it's a methag rather than the siluk. And if it's not the last word of the syllable, the last word of the verse, then it has to be a methag rather than the sof pasuk. Let me move on to describe the makef. The makef is a little horizontal line that sometimes will connect 2 Hebrew words. So here you have the word El, unto, and here you have the word Elohim, God. And in this particular case, it's connected together, El Elohim, with a makef connecting the 2. Now, what this essentially means is that there is one accent governing both words. So even though there are 2 words there, it's treated as if it were one word as far as the accent goes. So it's not El Elohim, it's El Elohim. Likewise with the expression sons of Israel, if you write it with a makef, the word sons of is B'nai, and the word Israel is Yisrael. You could write it without the makef, and then it would be B'nai Yisrael, 2 accents. But if you put the makef there, then it would be pronounced B'nai Yisrael. 2 words, 1 accent governing the 2 words. In many cases, you could write the exact same expression 2 different ways, either with the makef or without the makef. So my voice as a object of a verb, as it turns out, you have a direct object marker 8. And so if you say that God heard my voice, you could say God heard 8 koli. 8 koli. 2 different words, 2 different accents. But very often they will slur it together and you'll get God heard et koli. And so et koli, 1 accent, very last syllable, and that is marked by a makef. That also means that the vowel has to be short, because now you have a unaccented closed syllable, and unaccented closed syllables have to take short vowels, so you get a short E, a sagol. Whereas when you had 2 separate words with 2 separate accents, well, this is a accented closed syllable, and that would take a long vowel normally, and so you get the long vowel instead there. So that would be the makef.